Chair recognizes the chair of the Economic Development and Tourism Committee, Chairman Stevens, for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 1027.
Chairman Stevens has moved that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 1027. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 1027 by Representative Stevens, 164th. The bill will be entitled Act entitled 48 relating to revenue and taxation to change certain provisions relating to the tax credit for the film or video production in Georgia, change certain provisions relating to the exemptions from sales and use tax for film producers, film production companies, provide for related matters. The House passed version of House Bill 1027 has been printed. It is on your desk. Committee substitute, upper right-hand corner, LC 343435S. The Senate substitute, House Bill 1027, LC 343512S. Both the House passed version and the Senate passed version have been printed, placed on your desks.
Chair recognizes Chairman Stevens to explain the Senate substitute to House Bill 1027.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We passed House Bill 1027 out of this House unanimously, went over to the Senate, also passed out unanimously with 3 changes, very good changes. The first change moved the Georgia Peach promotion logo from the end of the movie that will now be ahead of the credits, or whenever that can't be done for contractual purposes, the production company can present a marketing plan to promote Georgia as the location where the film was produced. That's number 1. Number 2, the Senate, and this is probably the best thing they did, the Senate office will provide, the film office will provide a report to this body every year for plans on the gains for what the film companies are doing for the state of Georgia. And the last thing that it did is as a provision was added in Section 1 to expand the tax credits to include its affiliates. That would be like General Dynamics and Gulfstream under the same company to be eligible for those tax credits. That's all it does. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you'll extend this $2 billion industry and these 26,000 Georgians that work in this industry just last year. And I'll answer any questions, Mr. Speaker.
Do you yield for questions?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the Minority Leader of the House, Representative Abrams, to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at Section 1, can you speak to the intent of lines 11 through 14? My concern being that the language, when read together, applies e-verify, and I'm not certain if this is something that's in place in other states with which we are competing, and so I want to be certain that we're not creating a hazard for use of this credit.
It is not. It strictly applies to the section that allows the affiliates primarily to, and they're moving over to the to that issue of an affiliate. And an example again is Gulfstream and General Dynamics that would then qualify for the major tax credit. That's the language they used.
Thank you.
Do you yield for another question?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Martin to your right for a question.
Chairman Stevens, do you yield?
Yes, sir.
In Section 1, also the point 1 paragraph that's been added for affiliate, that makes the tax credit relative to, like you said, Gulfstream and their parent General Dynamics. So a credit obtained by Gulfstream can be used by the affiliate General Dynamics. Is that not true?
That is true.
That's what you're trying to do, to make those tax credits valuable across the corporate enterprise and keep jobs in Georgia.
For large tax credits, yes. If there are no more questions, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well and ask for your favorable support.
You have no further questions. The gentleman has yielded the well. What purpose does Representative Dudgeon rise?
Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Rule 133, I ask to be excused from the vote.
The gentleman has that right, and the journal will so reflect. On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 1027, all those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the gentleman's motion. The ayes are 154, the nays are 4, and this House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 1027. House will be at ease for just a moment as we await the supplemental rules calendar and a couple of amendments. House will be at ease. Not make it. We are still at ease. We're waiting on printing of some amendments from the Rules Committee. House will come to order. House will come to order. Clerk will read a caption. Clerk will read the caption. Senate Bill 92.
Senate Bill 92 by Senator McCoon, 29th. The bill will be entitled, like men, Title 21 related to primaries and elections generally, so to provide limitation will provide when in-person absentee balloting may be conducted, provide for a period of advance voting, provide procedures, provide for exceptions, related matters. Bill having been before the House Committee on Governmental Affairs, the committee recommends that this bill do pass by way of a committee substitute. Bill's being read for the third time.
The chair recognizes the chairman of the Governmental Affairs Committee, Chairman Hamilton, to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is always a pleasure to help our fellow senators over there, especially Senator McCoon, in trying to get his bill out that he had before us last year. And for those of you that aren't following it, that's supposed to be funny. What we do is we have Senate Bill 92 before you. Let me tell you exactly what Senate Bill 92 is. The House passed 3 bills earlier this session. We passed House Bill 889, we passed House Bill 725, we passed House Bill 776. We passed all 3 of those from this chamber. When they went to the Senate, the Rules Committee chair, because this is Title 21, and no, there is nothing, no ethics involved in this. It's Title 21, and so concerns over ethics legislation, the Rules Committee chair decided they would put them all 3 bills together into one bill and engross it, and that's what happened. Unfortunately, the Senate ran into some challenges on the floor today, and this bill struggled a little bit, and so this is simply taking those 3 bills, coming back to the House, and we're putting those, we stripped out the language in Senate Bill 92 and put those in here. And that's all this bill does. And so, Mr. Speaker, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer any. If not, I yield the well.
You have a question if you care to yield.
Sure, I'll take one.
Chair recognizes Chairman Reinders to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't.
To your far right?
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you.
Mm-hmm.
I know there have been some discussions going on in the Senate. Is there anything that has any effect on local officials within city or county governments?
No.
Thank
No,
you so
there's
much.
nothing there.
Chair, you yield for further questions?
I'll take one more.
Chair recognizes your Forsyth County colleague, Representative Dudgeon, to your right.
Does my friend in the well yield?
I'm not sure I want to, but I will.
Just want to make sure this has the 3 bills in it are word for word what the House has already passed.
That's correct. And then the only change, in addition to that, in the cleanup language, was on because of the way the dates were structured on the 3 bills, we had to structure it differently so that different parts of this bill go into effect at different times. But that's exactly right. Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well. We've had all 3 of these measures before us, and I ask for your favorable consideration.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 92 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. For what purpose does Representative Murphy rise?
Parliamentary.
State your inquiry.
It's not true that I would have asked the chairman of the committee to describe the section that House Bill 776 is written in, please.
Well, you have the bill there. I'll ask him to come over there if he can help you out real quick and tell you. He's right across the aisle from you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it not true that we just received this bill approximately 5 minutes ago?
Well, you heard the explanation. This is 3 bills that we were awaiting Senate action. They failed to act. We're going to give them one more chance. We've already considered and passed each of these measures this session. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 92, the ayes are 113, the nays are 39. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The chair announces that Senate Resolution 673 will be postponed to the next legislative day. Chair announces that Chair announces that Senate Bill 458 will be postponed to the next legislative day. Chair announces that Senate Bill 469 will be postponed to the next legislative day. The chair's understanding now, the Senate has adjourned after having tabled approximately 20 House bills. There being no further announcements, well, before we leave, let me have your attention. As is our tradition to recognize outstanding young Georgians, please help me welcome to the floor of the House 3 pages that have been with us all day long. Ira Lee, Reed Lee, and Lindy Smith. Let's welcome down to the front. Let's welcome down to the front. And while you're still standing, if I could have your attention, I want Lindy to wave to you. This is her 5th consecutive year paging in the Georgia House of Representatives. I hope I live long enough to see her take out Chairman Hamilton out of his House seat in Forsyth County. I didn't mean to cause an outburst with that, but are there any announcements that need to be made? Chairman Smith's recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. We are having in Natural Resources and Environment 2 ad hoc meetings tomorrow. The first one starts at 2 o'clock in room 403 of the Capitol, and that meeting is to do with just information and presentation on solid and hazardous waste. And then the one at 3 o'clock is to deal with the Historic Preservation Division. It's for educational purposes. The committees have been appointed, but this is also open to our full committee and, of course, anyone else who wants to attend. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? The chair wants to reflect once again, this year we have had an excellent budget process. We passed an amended budget with no dissenting votes, and today we had a very excellent presentation on the conference committee report. Chair recognizes the chairman of the Appropriations Committee now for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move this House stand in adjournment until Thursday, March 29th at 9:30 a.m. for day 40.
On the motion of the chairman of the Appropriations Committee that this House adjourn until Thursday, March 29th, the earliest we have adjourned sine die in at least 8 years, by the way. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. All those opposed say no. This House stands adjourned until Thursday, March 29th at 9:30 a.m.